Hi, I'm the Reverend Russell, and this is the Hardest Question video blog. It is Epiphany, week 4, year A. And today I'm going to be responding to the gospel text, Matthew 4, 1 through 12, and our guest blogger, Mark Bauman. Mark, he gets right at it here. Excuse me. He gets right at it here and asks a really hard question. There's so many hard questions in this text here. Of course, we're talking about the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount. The text starts out with Jesus going up to the mountain, Moses-like, I think, and sits down and begins to teach. And we start with the Beatitudes, the blessed bees. And when I read this, I really get the feeling that that this crowd that is gathered up there, well, clearly looks nothing like us, of course, given time and place. But it seems to me that clearly Jesus is speaking to a group of people that knows what it means to be powerless, to be put upon, to be oppressed, and to really be persecuted. So my overarching question, and in a lot of ways it applies to the whole gospel. This has come up in blogs, and it's come up last week really wonderfully on the comments on the blog, that the gospel really does seem to be a gospel to those without power. And it poses an alternative narrative to the narrative of the dominant Roman Empire. And so how do we, sitting not out in the hills and the countryside, out in the oppressed hinterlands, how do we, sitting in the seat of Rome, in the seat of power, the most privileged people in the world, how does this gospel mean for us? And so how do these Beatitudes mean for us, these blessed bees? Because you go down this list and it doesn't seem like this is talking about us very much. Pardon. So Mike makes a couple of points. First, he goes and says he thinks maybe if people have understood this text, that we will be blessed if we, I don't know, emulate certain of these characteristics, or that we resemble them. He sees that maybe contemporary Christians think of the word blessed as something, being given something by God. And he thinks that a better understanding of the way Jesus is using the word blessed here is one that has been consecrated by God or chosen by God. Giving examples of, David, for instance. All the men who are called righteous, and women. Unfortunately, you get a lot more men, but all of those who are called righteous by God, who are chosen by God and called righteous by God in the Hebrew Bible, and to a certain extent in the New Testament, they are people who are righteous not because of what they've done. Many of them, are scallywags. But they are righteous merely because God has called them. And God has called them out to use them, and that's where their righteousness comes from. And so to be blessed by God, Mike is saying really is just to be one who is called by God. And so maybe it is a very different thing that Jesus is sitting down and saying that those who will receive God's blessings, who will receive this kingdom of heaven, which we could talk a lot about what that might be, are those who have been called by God, and God is calling the unlikely suspects. But then he goes on to say here that in the end, his final question and his hardest question is well, he basically says, why is Jesus lying? He says that there's some implication in these blessings here that those who show mercy will receive mercy. Those who mourn will receive the kingdom of heaven. So that if you are put down, if you are put upon and oppressed, that will turn around for you in the end, like some Job-like, in some Job-like sort of fashion. But as you look around in the experience that we have, the poor in no way look blessed at all. those who mourn, those with depression, that doesn't always work out very well for them, and more than likely it gets worse. So there are those who are marginalized and powerless, even though we live in the heart of the empire. And I guess we could look at how, if those are the blessed in our culture, then how can we learn from them, I guess, what the kingdom of God is. But another question I have about this whole thing here is, when you read these blessed bees, if really blessed means something being called out or consecrated or made holy by God, is this a list of statements that these are statements of what is? Or is it a list of commandments like Moses found up on the mountain that we should seek to achieve? Should we try to be poor and try to be merciful and meek and in sorrow? Is it something that we do, or is God making a statement of how things are? And if we're only made righteous by God's calling of us, what does that mean for us? These are all really hard questions, and I think they're going to be great questions to think about as we go through this whole 3 chapters of the Sermon on the Mount. Please let us know how you're going to preach these texts. Comment on the blog. I'm the Reverend Russell, and this is The Hardest Question. Thank you.